Unfortunately, and obviously, there is important business happening in our nation's capital. Has prevented Senator Coons from joining us in person this evening, but he's able to join us virtually via Zoom on tonight.
He's already watching over your shoulder.
Yeah. Senator Coons, you're a U.S. Senator from Delaware, known for skills that are in short supply today. You endeavor to reach out to the other side, hoping to overcome divisions that are paralyzing our nation. You're a Democrat who prays with Republican colleagues, keeping in mind that opponents are finally not ideologues, but people, individuals made in God's image. Your spiritual politics were formed decades ago. Before receiving your Yale M.A.R. and Yale law degrees, you volunteered as a relief worker in South Africa and worked for the Coalition for the Homeless in New York. You've worked also as in-house counsel for a manufacturer and served with several nonprofit organizations. Meanwhile, a personal odyssey in electoral politics was unfolding. Early on, you were a Republican before becoming a Democrat in college. By 2000, you were elected in Delaware to the Newcastle County Council. Then you served as county executive. In 2010, you won the special election to the U.S. Senate after now President Joe Biden resigned the seat to become vice president. You won a full term in 2014 and now chair the Senate Ethics Committee, as well as serve on the Appropriations, Foreign Relations, Judiciary, and Small Business Committees. You've endeavored to advance LGBTQ rights, women's rights, and racial justice. It's a busy schedule. But on Wednesday mornings, you can be found attending the Senate prayer breakfast, where about 25 Democrats and Republicans hope to build mutual trust. There you practice personally what the nation must somehow learn. You find ways to connect with people who you disagree with, discovering a shared humanity, making possible the healing of the common good. In Reflections Journal in 2018, you wrote, "What we do every Wednesday morning is to seek out the real people behind the simplistic labels, the man or woman with whom we'll have to have difficult conversations on the Senate floor or the committee room later that day. That can be hard for anyone, and it's only possible through a willingness to be truly honest and even vulnerable, not only to friends, but also to rivals and enemies." The Lux et Veritas Award is given for excellence and distinction in applying the compassion of Christ to the diverse needs of the human condition through the wider church, ecumenical organizations, not-for-profit groups, government, or industry. This year, we proudly give the award to Senator Christopher Coons.
Reverend Turner, thank you so much for that gracious and a generous introduction. And Dean Sterling and everyone at the Yale Divinity School, thank you for this undeserved recognition. I regret that the business of the Senate today required me to be in Washington, and I have truly enjoyed hearing from the other honorees this evening the arc of their remarkable careers of service and witness. All of my life, I felt called to try and make a difference, to try and make the tragedies and the vagaries of life less hard for others, which eventually led to a strengthened calling to both ministry and law. As a law student, I was in legal clinics litigating for housing for the homeless in New Haven and for victims of human rights violations and oppressions overseas. As a divinity student, I was struggling with how to care pastorally for others and how to understand and act on Christ's call to righteousness and justice. So at Yale Law School and Yale Divinity School, I found a very special and creative balance between these two important communities and disciplines. For me, as for so many of the others who've spoken tonight, Yale Divinity School was an incredible, special, central place. It was engaging and challenging, an important community made up of people, of students and faculty from such widely different interpretations of Scripture, such different faith communities, and such different understandings of what it means to live a life of purpose and a life of faith. In addition to things like hermeneutics and eschatology and soteriology and exegesis, Yale ultimately taught me humility in the face of life's deepest questions, a sense that an authentic faith is a questioning faith, not a certain and a rigid faith. And it taught me to question and challenge systems of power and of oppression. I was blessed with incredible teachers. Sister Margaret Farley was the very first YDS professor I encountered. A friend at the law school challenged me to come up the hill and just sit in the back of the room. He said, if you just listen to one class, you won't be able to leave or stop. And he was right. It was a class on Augustine, Aquinas, Luther, and Calvin, and it was riveting. I ended up taking more classes with Professor Farley, Sister Farley, than anyone else. I was blessed to study under the Reverend Dr. Jerry Streets, chaplain of Yale at the time, Letty Russell for liberation theology, Richard Hayes on Paul's epistles, Abe Malherbe on Old Testament interpretation, Gene Outka on Christian love. The list just goes on. But I also had some incredible practical hands-on experiences. The Reverend Sam Sly, YDS 52, was running downtown cooperative ministry. And I spent a year as a student pastor with him that wove together my work as a law student in homelessness and housing and a divinity student in sustaining and creating an interfaith community. Out of a class on pastoral care taught by Jerry Streets was born the I Have a Dream Foundation chapter of New Haven. And out of my time interning with Reverend Sly was born initiatives I later supported in my state of Delaware in interfaith activity. As you heard in the introduction, I try my best here in the United States Senate in a time of great and deep division to be a witness, to carry forward the lessons and the gifts that I received at Yale, whether chairing the ethics committee, participating in the weekly prayer breakfast, or being a part of a group called Faith and Politics that was largely founded and ably led by the late John Lewis, who had an enormous impact on my sense of the possibility of service and righteousness in politics. The award tonight is named Lux e Veritas, Light and Truth in Latin. If you look at our present politics, most would say there's more heat than light, more disinformation than truth. And so in my own context as a senator and an ordained elder of the Presbyterian Church, I try my best in what ways I can with what skills I have in this extended field practicum from YDS to both witness to the enduring truth of Christ's love for all of us and Christ's message of grace, hope, inclusion, and justice, and to offer what I can, a light of witness rooted, hopefully, in both humility and service. In all this work, I am eternally grateful for the formative years I got to spend learning from my classmates, the faculty, and the staff of YDS, and the people of New Haven. Thank you, and God bless you all in your work.
Senator Coons, I speak not only on behalf of everyone in this room, but of all affiliated with YDS when I tell you how much your presence in the U.S. Senate means to all of us. In a time when our country is so fractured, you give us hope that there are people who are morally committed to sacred principles, and you serve as a witness to your own faith and to ours. And we say thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We hope you will find a place on a bookshelf in your office to display this award. I don't know if you could really see it, but there it is. But it's in the mail.
Thank you, Dean.